This video continues from the lab support video, the previous one where we set up a database, films database, and last thing we did was queried and extracted all of this data here. So the assumption is you following along with that project, you've got your database set up, you've built the all films action, and you had built the one film action in there. And what we're going to do in this short video is just create a couple of more pages, one known as a details page and then a simple search page. So the information for this, you'll find the guide for this here online, and it's building on this GitHub here. Okay, so let's make a start. So we're going to first of all build a page that we can use the routing within the MVC application to use this third optional parameter here to send a value through, and then that value we're going to send through is going to be the primary key, and then we're going to use that in a find method. So find is part of the DB set class, and what it will do is it'll use the primary key to extract an entity and return it. So we've already got the context set up. So what we did in the previous movie is we've got our context here, our DB context, and we'd use dependency injection to add it into our home controller. So this first page is just going to display one film based on the primary key that you send through, sending the primary key through as a URL parameter there. So we did this for our action in the home controller, so I'll copy that into our home controller and I'll just save that. So that's it's going to take the ID, it's a parameter, it's going to use that in a find search against our films DB set, which comes from our DB context, and it's going to return a model which is based on film, which is the model that we created to set up our database in the last movie. So given that we've got that set up now, we now need a view. So let's right click and add in a new view. So this one is going to be an empty view, and I'll save this as film details to match the name of the action there. So film details.cs HTML. Let's add that in. It should appear there in my home to match the pattern that I'm using in my routing. So there is film details. I'll just check over here. We've got film details. That's all matching up. So we just had to add some razor logic in here now, so to create the view. So we're going to have a directive that tells us which model to use. So you will need to change that to match the namespace of your application. We've got standard view data to set the title of the view, but here is the data. We're going to display the app model film title. So let's copy that and paste that in over here, and then we can save that and we can test what we've got so far. And we've got an error, and that's because I forgot to change the namespace there. So there you go, that's what happens if you forget to do that. So let's change that to match our project, basic film DB in this case. There we go. So let's try again now. Let's save that and then run it. So localhost should fire up, which it does. And we'll have to manually type in the path to this because I haven't got a link in here, but we saw that we were in home and then we had film details, and then I've got 60 films in the database, so 56 will give me a film, which it does. There you go, it gives me Solo, a Star Wars story. You can see it displaying information there. You'd have to be careful if you were out of range, you are going to get an error, so you'd have to ensure that that didn't happen and put some error handling in, but I'll leave that as the basic example for now. We could refine the formatting in line with the style sheet, and just to perhaps use the film title as the page heading. We could load the image in because we've got the image path as one of our data fields. So let me copy that, give us a kind of a richer view of the page just to show you I was making better use of the data. And again, I've done that, so I need to change the namespace. So we've got basic film DB project. Let's get that in. Try not to make that mistake a third time. Let's fire that up. And we should get some more of the data now out of the database in that view. So we need to wait, let's just settle down, and then we go to home. Let's go to the same one. So film 56, there you go. So we've got the image, and you see there's more data there coming out of the database. And the beauty of that is you can change that number there, and as long as there's data, it will pick it up. Okay, so how could we ensure that we only get data? Well, we could, what use can we make of this? Well, let's just show you, because what I could do is I could link to this page and I could take that value with me. We've already got this list here of all the films, so we could make these hyperlinks so that they took the primary key of the film through to that more details section. So that's what we'll do next. So this will just simply mean editing the already existing from the previous movie, the previous video. We had this one set up here in all films. So let's say that we add in underneath here a hyperlink. So I'll put in a paragraph and we could link to. Now I could type the path in manually there, but as it will mention in the notes, you can use these what's known as tag helpers. So you can say ASP controller, home, ASP action, film details, ASP root ID, which is where we're going to pass the primary key. That's where we could read the value in. So this is what's known as a tag helper. It'll generate that correct path for me, and the benefit being later, if I do change, say, the name of the controller or the name of the action, that would automatically be updated for me. So let's paste that over with that. So let's now save that and fire it up. So what we should get this time is that we'll be able to get to that page now through the list of all the films because they've been hyperlinked. So we go to the movie list. Get all these lists here. So if I right click on one of these and just inspect it in Chrome, you'll see that there they all are there. Let's make that a bit bigger. Let's close that down for a second. Oh. So I'll just get rid of this bar here. Let's make that a bit bigger in there if we can. There you go. So if I look in here, you'll see that is going to film 8, that link there. Pick another one at random, that's going to film 10. So whichever one of these I click on now, it's going to take that number with it to that page that we created. So this is the beauty of a database driven website, because I've just created one page there, but I'm able to display all of that information. It just depends which value we send through to it. So that's the beauty of what we call a details page. So click on there, click on Wally, sends 22 through, and 22 is what's displayed. Okay, so that's a super useful feature of having a back-end database running your website for you. Right, the other feature I wanted to look at was building on this idea. We could extend, we could draw some of the ideas together and create a simple little search page. So we've given our users a list of films, and they can also click and drill further in, but wouldn't it be nice if they could choose to search, and that's what we're going to facilitate here. And so we're going to create a little view, a new view. Let's do it view first this time. The HTML form in it, with a method of get, and we've got a tag helper there that's going to take us to home search, and we overrule the default of post, which that would imply in the .NET world, and we're going to send a search string as our name value pair through to this action here. So let's copy that and generate ourselves a view. So in home, let's right click and add in a new view. So we'll call this one search.cshtml, and let's put that content in there, and I'll just save that, and we're going to need a controller. So over here in home controller, let's add in a controller, and the controller is going to use looks like this. So we've got two views, but based on the conditional logic, because that form is going to send this search string in. So if it isn't empty or null, there's a condition there, we'll search the database, and we're using a link where contains query there. It's kind of like the reverse of an SQL query. So look in films and see if the film title contains the string, and then that's going to get returned as a list of films in our model, and we'll feed that into the view. Now if they haven't searched, which they won't have done first time they arrive at the page, they're just going to get the empty view returned. So let's copy that, and this we can test this at this point, but we're not going to obviously have the full solution at this point. Let's fire it up. So this is already hyperlinked in on the navigation for these sample files. So when I go to the top here, I'm going to click on search, and there's my little search. Now if I just right click and inspect, show you what that tag helper did, you see it put in an action of home search. I had to manually put method get in. There's a reason why I've done that, because otherwise it would have, ASP.NET would have put a post in, but we want to get in this instance. So if I then search by now that's going to, so it's we can see the query string up there, but it's not returned any values, because what we need to do is add some logic into the view. And so what I'm going to do is use the trick that we saw in a previous example where we just extracted all the films. We could loop round, so I'll copy that. Let's find a suitable place to put it inside of the search view so it can go underneath the form there. Let's save that and fire it back up again. And so hopefully this time we have the search coming up very slowly. There we go. Let's go and search, and we need some conditional logic because it doesn't know about the model. So what I should do is tidy up the output by putting the output inside of an if condition. So only if the search string exists will we attempt to display that logic. So we can't just use that on its own just yet. We do need to put it inside of a condition, which we've now done. We've got an extra pair of divs at the top there, so let's just tidy those out. Right, let's save that, fire it back up again. So we did need to make that reference to model inside of a condition so that it wouldn't throw that error. Now we go and search and hopefully there we go. There's the list of films that have got the in them. Star, there's star. And we could link those through with hyperlinks as we just did before, so you could get to the details, and using exactly the same trick with the tag helpers that you saw before. So if I grab that from there and stick that inside of here. So that's the name of the film, but let's make it a hyperlink. So we wouldn't actually just need that, we could get rid of that now. So that's using the same tag helpers, take me to the home, film details, and take the film ID with me. It's picking that up as it loops round, so we'll save that and fire that up, hopefully for one last time, and we should get our search appearing in a second. So there's our search, we search for star, there's all our lovely links will appear. I should have put the name of the film in, shouldn't I? But we can click on those and you see it follows through. So let me just quickly fix that. That should be the name of the film there. So let's say add item dot, and then we want film title. So we'll take that out of the database. Right, so save one last time. Round we go, off to localhost. So this will just display the name of the film as well. So we'll do a search. Let's look for Galaxy. There's our two films. It's picking up off this query string. They're running the query. We can click on either one of those. It takes us to there. Okay, there you go. That's how you can set up a quick search and results page. Lots of other ways you could do that, and you could extend that by adding in other fields to search by, but that hopefully will get you going.